holozoic nutrition has 5 major steps. The first one being ingestion, the second one being digestion, the third one being absorption, the fourth one being assimilation, and the last one being digestion. Ingestion has to do with taking in food, okay, into the mouth of that organism. Imagine a goat or fish. They take in food into their mouths. Of course, the mouths may differ. Yours might differ from that of fish or from that of a snake, but it is in taking in that food complex, that complex food substance into the body. Then digestion is that process by which the complex food is broken down. Okay, broken down into smaller particles. Those smaller particles are absorbed into the body from the digestive system into the body. And now, next they are assimilated. Assimilation is when those smaller food substances that were absorbed are put to use. For example, if I eat my posho, it's broken down, I put it into my body, it was broken down, the product of it, which is glucose, entered my blood. Now that glucose being used up is the assimilation. Maybe to give me energy, maybe to be stored, that is assimilation. And lastly, digestion, which is now the expulsion of the undigested food from the body of an organism. So, ingestion, taking in, digestion, breaking up, absorption, assimilation, putting to use, and digestion, expulsion of the undigested food. It's almost impossible to eat all the food, and all the food gets digested, gets absorbed, gets assimilated, so that there's no digestion. It's almost impossible. There will always be some form of digestion, which now is commonly known as defecation. It is the elimination. Animals which undergo holozoic nutrition can be categorized into 3 groups. They could be herbivores or carnivores or omnivores. Okay, herbivores, they eat herbs, meaning herbivores feed on plant material. Carnivores feed on other animals. Okay, they feed on flesh. Examples of such include all canines that you know, like foxes, bears, lions, leopards. They are carnivores. Okay, most cats, however, domestic cats, sometimes they are not purely carnivores. And now, omnivores. These are the organisms that feed on both plant material and flesh. Okay, examples include myself, that is man, pigs, among others. And so, those are the examples. Those are the 3 categories of animals that carry out holozoic nutrition. And now we go. That was an introduction, and now we're going to an important part of the nutrition, which is food. Talking about nutrition, nutrition is about feeding, and feeding is about food. So, talking about food, food is any substance that can be digested and absorbed by the body of an organism so as to maintain that body's life processes as we know them, like growth, like movement, like sensitivity. Food is very important. Now, why is food required in an organism's body? Number one, it is important for growth, so as to build new tissues. Okay, if a child does not eat well while they are still young, chances are that they will have stunted growth. Okay, they won't grow well. Why? Because they did not feed well. So food is very key in growth. Food is also important to carry out respiration. Okay, so as to produce energy. I'm sure you know that when you take some days without eating, this is a way your whole life is in slow motion because you have less energy. Okay, so food is important to provide energy, which is used for the different functions. Food is important to repair damaged cells and tissues. I'm sure you have once got a cut or damage of any sort on your body, and maybe you now have a scar. That scar is evidence that there was repair of that tissue. Okay, it was repaired and only the scar remained. Now, the food you ate was made into materials that could help repair that tissue. And number 4, it is important to protect the body from disease and infection. There are some foods we eat that protect us from disease. For example, vitamins and proteins. Okay, so those are the 4 major importances of food, which are now we have different classes of foods. Now we shall talk about 3 major classes of foods, which are energy-giving foods. They are foods we eat and they give us energy. Number 2, body-building foods. Okay, those are the foods we eat and they help us to grow. Yeah. Have you seen that those adverts where they say you eat this so that you grow? Probably it has the foods, the type of food that will help you to grow. Okay, for example, proteins help us to grow. Carbohydrates, they help us, and fats, they help us, they give energy to our bodies. And number 3, those are the protective foods, which protect our bodies against infections and disease. For example, vitamins and minerals. Those are the 4 major classes of foods. So, these are the 3 major classes of food. Now, we're going to go to the food types, okay? Or the ones we call the nutrient compounds. Now, nutrient compounds are 6. First being carbohydrates, then proteins, then vitamins, then mineral salts, roughages and water, and lipids. So these are the 6 major nutrient compounds, and we're going to talk about each of them in detail. starting with carbohydrates.